members across the U.S. and abroad come together in groups of 12 to lean into one another, to learn from one another. We're headquartered in San Antonio, Texas. We have members all throughout the country. And each month we lean in with business curriculum to learn how to grow our business, with ministry curriculum to learn how to build a great business. But we do in the context of peers, to challenge one another, to grow with one another, to take yourself out of your business for one day so you're not working in it, but you're working on that business. And we create a buffalo culture with our members where, if you know anything about cattle, when they sense a storm, they run from the storm and it prolongs the damage and harm caused in the storm. Whereas buffalo, when they see a storm, they gather up and run in it together. It lessens their time in the storm and the damage that's caused. So each month there's buffalo moments where we see issues and opportunities to face the storm and opportunities together. So that's how we do it. Now you're wondering, who's a member? What does that look like? Again, I'm glad you asked. We have two local C12 members who I'm going to interview over the next few minutes as you eat your lunch and as we go back to Life Serve. But some great area members in Tampa Bay, and I'd like to introduce them right now. Our first is Dave Ward. Dave is the CEO and co-founder of Buddy Brew Coffee. So if you need a cup of coffee, if you're here in Tampa, South Florida, afterwards I bet you Dave's got a ton of coupons he'll hand out to you, I'm sure. But Dave is, again, the CEO and co-founder of Buddy Brew. He's married with 2 children. Now, if you get around Dave, there's 2 things that bleed out of him: Jesus and C12. And so he just bleeds C12. And I may or may not have a side bet with Alex about a little over-under on what point Dave gets emotional in sharing about C12. So there may be a side bet.
Stop it.
And then our second, we have the privilege of hearing from Godly Daniel. Godly is a C12 member for the past 2 years here in the Tampa area. He's the executive director for A Door of Hope. They are raising and elevating those in the foster care community. He's also a pastor at Keystone Bible Church and the owner of Trinity Village Dental. When I first met Godly, I took a breath halfway through and thought, you all right? I said, Godly, everything that God's doing and all these multiple businesses and opportunities, I'm worn out. I just need a break. Give me a minute, we'll come back. So if you can welcome Godly and Dave for being here with us today. So we're just going to walk through, hey, how does God use C12 in your life, in your business? How does it impact you to build a great business and a greater purpose? What does that look like? And how does God use that in the marketplace? So they just mentioned the Benham brothers' relationship impact and the importance of that, the accountability, all those different measures. So we'll start with Godly. How does the Lord use C12 to impact your relationships at home, at work, and the community?
Great question, Seth. Thank you, brother, for having me here and for having us here. C12 has been such a huge impact in regards to many relationships in my life. The word that we sometimes use a lot of times when we start at C12 is about balance, and how many of us as business leaders in the community, we lack that balance. We have a desire to balance our work life with our home life and all these different aspects and all these different relationships, and we don't do it well. But C12 has helped me to really encourage the aspects of my life, like being a husband to my wife, a father to my children. All those are relationships that God sees as so important, and also specific callings in my life to be able to nurture well and to just really honor God in every different aspect of the relationships. Even in my community, being able to be a light for the gospel to those that are around me, because God has purposely placed these people in my life.
Thank you, God. Dave.
Well, I can tell you this. As Seth mentioned, we have a monthly meeting. And what my wife has told me, you're a different person when you get back. So I can tell you this, that it didn't take long, did it?
Alex, I want the bet. Thank you.
But I can tell you this, my goal in life is to be that different person every single day. Godly mentioned balance, so we do this thing called the balance wheel, which looks at almost every component of your life. And what's kind of uniform among leaders is there's not a lot of rest and retreat. We work and work and work and work and work towards our businesses. So a big part of this is finding those imbalances in the wheel and working on those areas. Now, I just happen to be a guy that's really good at rest and relaxation. I kind of consider myself a man of leisure, although I don't get to leisure ain't enough.
Paul's the fun guy. He's the fun guy for us in our group.
But there's other areas that I do desperate work in, and C12 really helps to bring focus on those areas. So balance is a key. Another big thing that C12 has done for me is really focus on what is the mission of our business. At Buddy Brew Coffee, our mission statement is brew good, do good. Brew good is all about the coffee, doing all those things necessary to make a great cup. But do good is all about the people. And we do that through really one main word, and that's love. We create a culture in our company that is loving. And that's not just internal, it has to be to our customers and then move outside the walls of Buddy Brew where we're loving on the community and being a bright light for the community. But it doesn't stop there, it goes all the way back to where the hardest work in coffee is done, and that's with the coffee farmers. And we truly believe that we can change the world through love, one cup of coffee at a time.
That's a picture of a great business with a greater purpose. Godly, tell me a little bit how C12, how the Lord uses that to impact you as a business leader, as an owner.
Yeah, definitely. So there's so much. When I walked into my first C12 meeting and Alex invited me, I just love being around 12 other men and women that love Jesus and want to use their business to glorify God. And I'm running a nonprofit. And so for those that run nonprofits, you walk into that world and running a Christian nonprofit, I'm like, I got the ministry aspect. That's all we talk about. We talk about Jesus everywhere we can. We want foster families from churches all around the area to come in and engage the system because of the gospel. So we got that part. But then I walk in there, I hear these guys talk about, I got Dave talking about a 13-week cash flow spreadsheet and then a PEO chart, and then we're talking about strategic planning, and I'm just writing things down. I'm writing down like crazy. I need to learn. These guys around this room have so much wisdom from the business world that we need to use in the nonprofit world. So I want to take all of that and glean all of that, because the Bible talks about wisdom in a multitude of counsel. That's literally what I have in that room. And I praise God for every opportunity, because our business as a Door of Hope, we try to run it well, but our heart is to be able to, share the love of Jesus Christ through the foster families that we are working with. But there's a business aspect of being able to bring in revenue as well as lower expenses, so we can do this work and glorify God in every aspect.
He hit a point there, the collective experience around a table. On an average at a C12 in a forum, there's over 200 years of CEO and ownership experience. And we believe as a leader, you should not be alone at the top. You need your herd. Who are you running into the storms with that can help guide you through the process? And you also can serve in the others in your group. Dave, help us with that question too.
Well, Seth, I think you touched on a super important point there. As people out here who have run businesses and lead businesses forward, it sometimes is a really lonely place. Especially when you're facing things like pandemics and decisions that affect a lot of people's lives. And so C12 brings 12 guys, 13 including Alex, who's the most amazing leader in the world, by the way, together. And in those moments, you're like in the trust tree. You can talk about anything that's affecting you, from your relationships with your family, your wife, to all those big, heavy, weighted decisions that are facing you. And so in those moments, man, having those guys around you, it gets you through some stuff. So, anyway, C12 is amazing. Best thing I've ever done.
That's awesome. Thanks, Dave. Give us a 1-minute final deal before I land the plane, and I know we're going to get back in for the next session, but Godly, give us a 1 minute on why someone out here, they're a business owner, they're a CEO, they're an executive director, they have 5 or more on their team. 1 minute.
I cannot say enough about C12. If anybody out here, if any of you guys are CEOs and feeling exactly what Dave was just talking about, feeling like alone and not knowing who to share some of the things that you want to share to, you probably can't share that with your people because you don't want them to feel the burden that you're carrying. but you want a place where you can go to do that, C12 is the best place for you to be able to find other Christian men and women who feel and know exactly what you're feeling and understand what you're trying to do in regards to running a great business for a great purpose. So if I can push it as much as I possibly can, find C12, learn a little bit more about it, and be a part of, one, receiving that wisdom, but also giving that wisdom to others as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. Dave.
Yeah, one of the things we haven't touched on too heavily, though, is the curriculum that's offered through C12. The way I like to refer to it is it's like an MBA program that you get to attend, month after month, and then have the counsel of your chair once a month as well, one-on-one. But the information that's passed is mind-blowing, especially for those of us who have started a business from the ground up, where you don't really have a base knowledge of how to do this kind of stuff. So we talk about things that are like from human resources to chaplaincy programs in your business to the metrics necessary to run it correctly. And so C12 offers all that. It's an amazing thing, worth every stinking penny you pay for it. It's a great program.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave. I need anyone here, if you're a business owner, a CEO, president, executive director, and you have 5 or more employees, I need you to do me a huge favor. You can't see it, but I've got very welcoming blue eyes. I need you to look up at my welcoming, warm, friendly blue eyes. If that's you, a business owner, CEO, president, executive director of 5 or more employees. They see them up here, they go, those are some welcoming blue eyes. Thank you. There's in front of you an interest card about C12. I'm going to ask you a minute to complete that and bring that to us so we can get to know you. But Jesus often would make a call to people. He'd say, come and follow. Or he'd challenge them to drop their nets. Come and follow, an invitation. So we want to, maybe Jesus today is inviting you, hey business owner, you got a good business, but I'm calling you to great business. Or he's saying, hey president, you know what? There's some good in your company, but I want you to view your business as your ministry. Maybe that's you, and Jesus is saying, come and follow, drop your nets, go learn more how he wants to help you. So if you're here today, I say 5 or more employees because we found that a starting point for C12 members is 5 or more because of the investment of their time and finances each month. So if that's you, that business owner, take a minute. The first way to build your great business is complete each line on that interest page in the middle of the table. There's pens. We need to know where you live because we've got different markets of C12 represented, Tampa, Southwest Florida. But complete each line. Bring that up to us. We have a C12 table over here with a couple chairmen. I'll be up here. But stop by. We'd love to take that next step to see how the Lord desires to use C12 in your life and business. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your lunch.